We have an NHL trade to discuss between two original six teams. The Bruins and the Hawks have hooked up on a 4-player deal involving Taylor Hall. We'll get into the full details and analyze the trade coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a pretty significant NHL trade to discuss here between two original six teams, the Boston Bruins and the Chicago Blackhawks. We have a 4-player deal with the Chicago Blackhawks acquiring Taylor Hall, former first overall pick, who has 2 years remaining on his contract that he signed with the Bruins at $6 million per season, along with the rights to Nick Foligno, who is a pending unrestricted free agent. Now, of course, Foligno can hit UFA market on July 1, or Chicago can have an exclusive negotiating window with them between now and then, should they want to sign him, and should, of course, that feeling be mutual. We've seen other players like Alex Galchenyuk be involved in a trade the other day here for Ryan Johansson, and the other team in Nashville had no intention of signing him. So I'm not really sure why that is. I mean, obviously there is a maximum number of contracts teams can carry. Sometimes that plays a role in everything as well. But Hall and Foligno to Chicago, no money retained by the Boston Bruins. Going back to Boston is two restricted free agent defensemen. Ian Mitchell, who, of course, I think at one point was considered a pretty highly touted, fairly good prospect, D out of the University of Denver. Hasn't quite materialized in Chicago for, I guess, a variety of reasons, as well as Alec Regula, a right shot D. He's 22. He's played 22 NHL games, also in a restricted free agent. Got good size. I think he's like 6'3", 220. So, I mean, these guys are not older prospects that are completely past their, potential phase. Like, there's still guys who I think can carve out an NHL career. It might not be as high potential in case of Mitchell as maybe was once thought of, but there's something there, I think, if he can get the right coaching in the right situation. So we'll see. I mean, they're likely going to have to start in their Bruins American Hockey League affiliate. This does a variety of things, though. It gives Chicago a former first overall pick who can be there and play with Connor Bedard. I mean, Bedard, we know, is going first overall. There's no doubt about that. Clearly, Taylor Hall knows what it's like to be first overall. He knows what it's like to play in a market that's going to be highly scrutinized. I mean, Chicago was not a Canadian market, but still, it's an original six market. The Chicago fans, certainly watch their games. They support their team well. There's still lots of eyes on you there, right? And being a first overall pick, it doesn't really matter where you play to some degree. There's a lot of eyes on you, high expectations. Taylor Hall knows exactly what that's like. So he can be, I think, a good mentor for Bedard in that sense. Not only that, I think he can be a good player to play with him on the wing. I mean, obviously Taylor Hall still a really good hockey player. Obviously getting to the a little bit of the later stages of his career, but I think he still has a lot of hockey left. This might be good for Hall. I mean, obviously, as I mentioned a few times, I had a good feeling that the Bruins were going to trade Hall this offseason because of their salary cap situation. Not that they don't like Hall. I really liked him a few years back when they acquired him at the deadline and then signed him to a new extension. I think they liked the player. I think they like what he did there, but they had to choose for a couple of reasons. One, they really liked what Tyler Bertuzzi brought to them after he was traded from Detroit, and they need the space to have a shot at re-signing him. And there's also been a lot of speculation recently in the last day and a half in that big blockbuster deal that's been reportedly closed between the Flyers and Blues, which would send Kevin Hayes and possibly, when I say possibly because there's numerous versions out there, but Hayes was the main piece going to the Blues, but there was talk that it could include Lawton and Sandholm too. It could be as many as 3 players maybe, or there could have even been a fourth, like a minor leaguer going from Philly to St. Louis. One of the pieces going back was Torrey Krug, who did not want to waive his no-trade clause for Philly. Now, there's some talk now that maybe he will, and there's some talk that says that maybe he will because they're going to flip him back to Boston. Now, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if there's any truth to that. Maybe Philly retains some money and he gets back to Boston cheaper. I don't know. Either way, the Bruins are working on a number of things, and this gives them more flexibility. I think Bertuzzi might be a bigger priority than Krug, I would think, but we'll have to find out soon enough. Either way, this is a great deal for Chicago. They need players. They need to have, even though they may not plan to be the most competitive team, they probably still want to be getting some high picks the next couple of years. They need to have an environment where Connor Bedard feels like he can hit some of his potential. And I think they need to at least have a good first line. And he can be a big help for this, Taylor Hall. So to me, I like this. And like I said, it gives the Bruins flexibility, gives them a couple of young D that they can analyze here. They're RFAs. They don't even have to qualify. But if Boston wants to walk away from these guys, they can. Or they can qualify them and have a couple of extra bodies who are, some prospects they can work with in the American Hockey League and see what happens. It's kind of like no risk to this deal with a potential reward down the road. So let me know what you think on this trade down in the comments. We'll talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.